You know, I genuinely didn't think we would see anything about Assassin's Creed Shadows during the Xbox Games Showcase. I assumed Ubisoft would wait until Ubisoft Forward, but I'm pleasantly surprised and thoroughly impressed. The new Assassin's Creed Shadows gameplay trailer gives us an exciting first-hand look at both the samurai and ninja playstyles. We've seen quite a bit about Assassin's Creed Shadows so far, but it's mostly been cinematics and teaser images. It's refreshing to finally get a glimpse of genuine gameplay, showcasing both Naui and Yasuke, a samurai and ninja that players will swap between during the campaign. One is a brutal, in-your-face, assault-like playstyle that lends itself to more action-packed gameplay approaches. The other, however, provides longtime fans with their stealth gaming itch, skulking through the shadows and dealing critical damage from behind. We'll likely see more at Ubisoft Forward. But this short gameplay trailer provides us with plenty to build the hype train before its upcoming release. As always for an Assassin's Creed game, we try to pick a setting that is a pivotal moment in history that can also allow plenty of gameplay opportunity, explains Stephanie Ann Ruata, World Director and Historian at Ubisoft Quebec. For Shadows, that pivotal moment is 16th century Japan, specifically the Azuchi-Momoyama period, an era of transition between the Civil War-stricken Sengoku period and the peaceful Edo period. It would be the last time that samurai would fight a major battle, and the last time that they would have a strictly military role, Ruada adds. With the samurai an active fighting force during the era, it's unsurprising to discover that you'll be playing as one. What is surprising, though, is this samurai's heritage. In a first for Assassin's Creed, Shadows will allow you to play as a real historical figure. If you know your Japanese history, you may be familiar with Yasuke, the legendary African samurai. Likely born in Mozambique, he was brought to Japan in 1579 by a Jesuit missionary and went on to serve the mighty daimyo, Oda Nobunaga. Yasuke is somebody who is going to tie together many of the most powerful figures in our era, says Associate Narrative Director Brooke Davies. He really is a great point of entry to this as well, with Oda Nobunaga on one side and on the other side the Portuguese that he arrives with. He really does a lovely job of connecting the dots historically, what we know factually. And then narratively, we had so much fun imagining the kind of person who would have this trajectory. Through Yasuke's foreigner eyes, Shadows will explore a tale of honor, justice, and belonging. But his isn't the only story you'll experience. Replicating the format of 2015's Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Shadows will feature two unique protagonists played in tandem. Starring beside Yasuke is Naoe, a swift and agile shinobi whose talents more closely align with Assassin's Creed's traditional hero archetype. The fictional daughter of real historical figure Fujibayashi Nagato, Naoe is a very different character to Yasuke. Where he is a bold fighter, she's the hidden blade in the shadows. It's through her that Ubisoft are seemingly rediscovering the series' stealth roots in a manner that surpasses even last year's Assassin's Creed Mirage. The thing that shines the most, I feel, in Assassin's Creed, it's really the hidden blade, the assassination, being able to stay hidden, says game director Charles Benoit. So that's the core that we want to keep. What we needed to push forward was to make it feel a bit more modern in the approach. That needed modernity has been found in a fully dynamic lighting system in which the radiance from sunlight, torches, and lanterns can illuminate both the land and you. Escape into the shadows, though, and you're invisible. And if you can't escape the light, you can snuff it out. Lamps, or their carriers, can be eliminated to create pools of darkness. If, like me, you were raised on Splinter Cell, this is all very enticing. Parkour has always been something that's pretty iconic and pretty core to the stealth experience because they go hand in hand, adds Jonathan Dumont, Assassin's Creed Shadows creative director. To enhance the parkour, the team has given Naoe a grappling hook. It's all physics-based, so there's a little bit of improbability sometimes when using it, he says. There's a danger to using it, but you could also perform assassinations from it. These shinobi skills make Naoe the ideal choice for players who want to get back to an Assassin's Creed that's actually about assassins. But the sneaking systems also pull on other aspects of the stealth genre that Creed has typically ignored. For instance, enemies can now be knocked out, unlocking the option for a more pacifist playthrough. Of course, the RPG era of Assassin's Creed has demanded a robust combat experience too, and that's where Ubisoft plans to let Yasuke shine. We want the combat to feel spectacular, so we've pushed quite a bit on having a lot of the objects destroyable or sliceable, explains Dumont. The upgraded Anvil engine upon which Assassin's Creed Shadows is built can now realistically replicate the damage caused by every type of weapon, from accurate sword slices to perfect arrow puncture marks. Think Fruit Ninja, but with, well, almost every prop that's in Shadow's world. Of course, the real samurai fantasy comes alive in Kurosawa-like duels. While Ubisoft Quebec isn't using the legendary director's filmography as a direct influence, they still want that level of tension. When we have a mini-boss type of fighter, we really want it to feel like a duel, says Benoit. So this exchange of blocking, parrying, dodging, so it's always like a dance. For the most part, stealth or combat will be your choice. Each character has a number of personal quests in which they are compulsory to play as, but beyond that, you can freely choose who you control. This goes as far as being able to switch characters between objectives. That's the beauty, says producer Carl O'Neill, because during a quest, there are several steps and you're going to go from one place to another. You want to have this autonomy and agency to choose how you want to play the setup. Much of Shadow's new design is focused on creating a living, reactive world. You can see that in the dynamic lighting and destruction, but there's a much greater system at play. Seasons. The open world progresses through spring, summer, autumn, and winter, with each new period bringing its own weather conditions and terrain shifts. While this helps lend a sense of realism to the land, dynamic winds will procedurally blow swirls of pollen in the spring and pull leaves from branches in the fall. Each season can have a dramatic impact on gameplay. We've really been pushing about making sure that gameplay and art are not separate, but they're intertwining, explains One. He offers an example of how, in summer, you can use the new prone stance to crawl into a pond and hide beneath the surface of the water, but in the winter, that pond will be frozen over. You create new and you remove at the same time different ways and routes of infiltration, he says. As spring blooms, grass grows tall enough to hide in. Bushes become leafy, perfect to crouch behind. But as the months go by, the approaching winter kills off these natural hiding spots. Hanging icicles threaten to snap and fall, revealing your rooftop position. But at the same time, the worsening weather limits the view of enemies. Howling winds obscure your footsteps. Guard patrols stick to areas of warmth, allowing you to take new, colder paths. Players will have to adapt constantly to what the environment is giving them, says Dumont. Seasons will change based on your progress through the campaign, which art director Thierry Dansereau tells me is to ensure the world stays authentic as possible to match historical events. If it was spring when a certain moment occurred in history, the world will be in the right place. But when in an open-world side quest, it might happen that you will play a quest in autumn and I will play the same quest and I'm going to be in summer, he says. So that's up to the system and the way you play your game. These seasonal conditions affect the entire map, which covers the central area of Japan, the provinces where Oda Nobunaga organized his stronghold and the unification of the country. In terms of area, the region is similar in size to Assassin's Creed Origins' Egyptian map, although based on a more realistic scale ratio, because castles took a lot of space, and we really wanted the mountains to feel like mountains. We've made the environments feel wider in the game, reveals Dumont. Those castles, all prominent historical landmarks, are set to be Shadow's centerpiece dungeons. The way they were built, it's a level designed by itself, enthuses Benoit. It's so big, it's like an adventure each time you go in the castle.
Did your father ever tell you why my bones ache in the weather? War. Their soldiers killed everyone.
I do not fear our enemy. They talk of peace and dream of war.